outrageous right before we go live, so you're caught laughing or bewildered in many cases. I did not do that to Robin Cutler from Ingram Spark yesterday. So I'm coming to you live from the subarctic. It's bright and cheery outside already at 6 a.m. And today we have Kevin McLaughlin coming to us from...
Hey, everybody. Oh, coming to you from sunny Boston, where it is sunny and it's actually turning warm today. It's going to be in the 50s.
50s. I got up this morning. It was 28 and beautiful. Perfect, crisp, clean, not muddy out. That'll be later when it warms up. But already crystal clear outside, shaping up to be yet another beautiful day. So there's a delay.
I have a question about what day of the week it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. I always have to start with that, and I keep forgetting. It's Thursday. Thursday. Cause so many people are at home and have no idea what day it is. For our patrons, our watchers, our fans. Yeah. But so I have a new Wi-Fi, so now I'm into it costs me nothing because I just bought 6 months of internet for $300. 6 months of unlimited internet, and my normal internet bill is $400 a month. So I have high hopes that this thing works, but there seems to be a little delay. So if my voice and the audio are out of sync, well, we'll keep working with that until it works like it's supposed to. But it's a huge benefit because these shows, as starting yesterday, because I ran out of the month's allotment, the shows were costing me $30 a day to do. So now, today is the first day where it no longer costs me $30 a day to do a show. So I have high hopes that this will work. A little bit of a delay between the voice and the video. Premiere. So this time of year, yesterday I set my walking record for the day, for the year so far in 2020, having walked a mile. I walked a whole mile yesterday. Heart did not get out of control, and I was able to burn some calories. And this morning my weigh-in was 197. Yesterday it was 199.2 or something like that, because I chugged too much water in too short of an amount of time, so I was still kind of super hydrated. And today I was much leaner in the hydration because I'd spread it out through the day yesterday. So Kevin, as an RN, talk to us about writer health.
So yeah, I had spent about a decade as an RN before I went full-time as a writer, and I still keep up on it. And before that, I was a master fitness trainer in the Army. So I've kind of hit this from both angles. And we talk a lot about how we're in a terrible profession for our health because we're sitting in these chairs all the time for our work, and that makes it incredibly difficult for some people to maintain a fitness level, to stay in good shape while they're following this profession. At the same time, it's also incredibly valuable for us to do so, because when we are, the old saying, a sound mind and a sound body is there for a reason. If we're keeping our bodies healthy, our minds will tend to be stronger as well. And so our creativity, our ability to get up and do work, our endurance for being able to type a whole bunch, our recovery from stress and damage to our wrist from typing so much, all of these things are related to our overall body health. And the more healthy we can keep ourselves in general, the better it's going to be for our long-term productivity, for our career, and just for life itself.
When I was right before I started writing full-time, I was a business consultant with Fortune 100 companies. And when a company fleeted people up to the executive level from like plant managers, so they're already executives, but into the executive circle, what they did is they sent them to the Kellogg School of Management for a 6-week intensive summer course. And part of that was every day they had the PT. They had them at the gym at like 6 in the morning, because they also said you need sleep, you need to be physically fit, because this is going to be grueling. And we hope you take that lesson forward back to the executive land because you guys are going to be traveling, you're going to be providing oversight, and you need to be sharp. You can't ever not be sharp. At Kellogg School of Management, here it is. This is, you must be physically fit. And he said it was funny because he was one of the guys I was working with. And he said he got there and not everybody was as fit as him. And he said some guys showed up and they were really out of shape and they were suffering. But 6 weeks later, every day it was not, no, you had to do it. Some days it was yoga, some days it was lifting, some days it was cardio, but they always did something with a very regimented, and they brought in professionals like yourself, a professional trainer for each of those sessions to make sure they were done right and nobody would get hurt and they could work within their abilities. But this is executives. This is a company paying people $500,000 to fill their position. And oh, by the way, we're paying for this too, because you need to embrace this lifestyle so we can get our $500,000 worth out of you.
It can make a big difference in your ability to do anything. The more fit we are, like up to a certain point at least, the closer we are to achieving a good homeostatic level of fitness, where our body is running efficiently and we're not carrying around tons of extra weight, we're not eating tons of extra sugar. Some of these things that are less healthy habits that are pretty common in our culture, they directly impact our ability to get things done. So yeah, it was a smart move on their part.
Not just that, not just your ability to think, because your body, this is your brain mech. It's the mechanoid that carries your brain around. That's its whole purpose in life. So because without a brain you wouldn't live, right? But without a body or soul, you could be a quadriplegic and your brain's still alive. So it's better to take care of this and keep it going forward. Now, the COVID-19, some of the results out of New York, because now we have a captive audience, we have a number of casualties. A couple of the things that I've seen, and I read an article this morning, said that there were underlying factors was one of the main things that every victim had in common. It was either hypertension, diabetes, obesity, and those things. They said obesity and diabetes were two of they set you up to fail if you got the disease.
It's absolutely true. So I've been following I've been following the news articles, but I've also been following the scholarly articles that have been
Good.
written about the coronavirus. And there's a lot of information out there. There's been thousands of peer-reviewed articles written on the topic just in the last couple of months, since people have really started pushing hard on this. Around the world, we have literally tens of thousands of scientists, hundreds of labs, all working as hard as they can to learn everything they possibly can about this. So we have parsed out some pieces of it, and anybody is vulnerable to some degree or another. Anybody can get this, and anybody can get a severe case. However, there are certain things we can do, or certain things that we can do. If we don't do them, they can increase our chances of having a more severe case. Obesity is a huge one. Diabetes is another huge one. Any kind of cardiovascular disease is another large risk factor. Any kind of most kinds of significant lung disease are another factor as well. There's some question now about whether or not chronic asthma is actually a risk factor or not. It may be a risk factor, but not as much as some other types of lung disease. So if you have diminished lung capacity in the bases themselves, that is probably increasing your risk a lot more than if you have chronic asthma, which tends to focus more on the bronchi and bronchioles. It's the alveoli, the little sacs that fill up with air, where if the virus gets into those spots, it can result in pneumonia. Then you get secondary bacterial infections. The body goes into a hyperimmune response, and that's where you get the acute respiratory distress, which is the biggest problem we have with the COVID-19. So
yeah, and there's an effect on the heart
anything you
as
can
well.
do to improve. Yes, and there's effect on the nervous system, and there's effect Like we're still learning where, what all is involved in this bug. It's a complex systems attack, because one of the things that this one of the biggest problems that we're having with COVID-19 is people having a very strong immune response. You'll see the phrase cytokine storm, I think is what they're calling it. But
Mhm.
anyway, it's when the body is trying so hard to get rid of a bug that they kick out, it kicks out too much of an immune response, and you end up with the lungs literally fluid, filling up with fluid from the immune response.
Yeah, yeah, it's fighting your body as well as the virus. So my sister commented on my post, because I post on my weight loss every single day. And my sister commented, half your body weight. Well, she was talking grams, not pounds. I try, but I can't eat 100 pounds of bacon. And 100 grams, well, that's like
Yeah,
4 ounces. That's
you shouldn't.
yeah, yeah, it might be a bit salty. Um, no, you should, but you should spread it out over like at least a year. Um, the To get your
Yeah,
100 pounds of bacon over a year, maybe. But 100 grams, that's like 4 ounces. I'm like, I do eat more than 4 ounces of protein a day, because I do eat a lot of just snack on meat. Uh, and I don't eat cheese, because dairy doesn't. My cardiologist said dairy is a inflammatory, and we can't have any inflammatories with the heart the way it is as it's healing. So the just meat, vegetables. I do have rice and other things. I think my diet is balanced now, and because of having no snacks in the house. And ordering online will save my life, probably, because I can't impulse buy. Uh, well, they're cooked. The potato chips are cooked in olive oil, though. It's olive oil, or whatever, avocado oil, or whatever magic oil that is still frying your potato chips that you shouldn't eat. So, but we do love them. The So the diet, it's a combination of everything. It's a because people used to throw around the term holistic, and if you look at what does that really mean, it's something more. It's a whole lifestyle. Like, yes, I sit in a chair and I write all day. No, you should sit in a chair for 30 to 40 minutes in stretches. Don't power write for 6 hours straight, never leaving your chair. First, I couldn't do that, because I drink too much coffee now, most of it decaf, and I'm an old dude, so there's no way I can go more than an hour without doing old dude stuff. So holistic. Talk to us about holistic
so
approach to life.
uh, a holistic approach to life means looking at things from a whole body perspective. So the whole system, not just a piece of it, not just, okay, my heart has a problem, so I'm going to fix my heart, and here's some pills to do that. That's a more medical approach. A holistic approach tends to look at how all of the different systems are interacting and interreacting, uh, which lets you adjust the areas which are weaker to bring up the entire thing better. You're talking about diet. Most Americans tend to underestimate the number of calories they're taking in a given day and overestimate the number of calories that they're burning in a given day. It's a really good idea to do some study and find out what you're actually burning. And we have these little guys here, which help out a lot with that. The Apple Watches or other things like that um, will tell us how many calories we're burning in a given hour of walking around and stuff. So we can get a very good idea of what our body's actually doing, because it's tracking our heart rate. Uh, Generally speaking, let's say you're shooting for an 1,800 calorie diet. Okay, assuming you have no other assorted health conditions, it's a good idea to try and focus on keeping carbohydrates at or under 250 grams a day. That's 1,000 calories of carbohydrates, and that means all carbs. That's carbs from vegetables. That's carbs from drinking a
Yeah.
sugared soda. That's carbs from. A lot of people don't realize that like alcohol converts over to carbohydrates, so that's sugar. You have to be aware of that sort of thing. So if you're having a beer, it's not just the calories from the the beer. There's also calories in the alcohol, and they're carbohydrate calories. They're sugar, essentially. So if you can keep the calories for that 1,800 calorie diet, a day diet, you can keep the carbohydrate calories down to 800 to 1,000. You're in the right range at that point. If you're having risk, if you're at higher risk for diabetes, if you're pre-diabetic, this is something we can test really easily these days with an A1C test, and they're starting to catch more and more people who are pre-diabetic, because if you can catch somebody early and then they can fix it with diet, then they will never have to go on insulin. They'll never have all of the kidney issues and the heart disease and all of the other complications that are associated with diabetes too. Anything we can do to prevent that is a huge step forward. So if you're at risk for diabetes or pre-diabetic, dropping the grams of carbohydrates down to 150 or so a day is probably a better bet. And then the rest of that should be some combination of fat and protein, mostly protein.
Mostly
But
protein.
it sounds like you're on the right track, Craig, with mostly protein. It sounds like you're on the right track though with, you want lean meats, ideally. You want less of the red meats and more of the fish and chicken and stuff like that for the most part. It doesn't mean you can't ever have cow, but it should represent, yeah, I know. But it should represent a smaller portion of your protein diet. Now, like right now, Liz and I are also ordering online, and we're eating way healthier than we were before too. But I'm doing a lot with edamame pasta, which is pasta made from the edamame beans. Extremely high protein, low carbohydrate, and it's pasta. So you can mix that up, do some nice seasonings for it, toss in some chicken sausage, and I've got a decent dish. I'm experimenting with a lot of different vegetable pastas right now that are made from actual vegetables and not the ones that are made from flour with a little tiny bit of vegetable added in. There's a difference, and yeah, it's been fun to play with that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I like that approach, and also for everybody listening, I just want to say I credit Kevin McLaughlin and Liz McLaughlin for saving my life, and not euphemistically. When I was having a problem with my heart, and I went to my doctor, for some ungodly reason, they had put it in my medical record that it was in my head, and Kevin insisted on me getting an Apple Watch that had the ECG, the medically certified. Hey, you have to. This is at least a respectable diagnostic tool, and because of that, I was able to show my primary care provider, and they blew me off for a whole year. And I was able to show my primary care provider, hey, I'm 180 here. Look at the tape, the PDF of the tape. And he said, oh, geez, I thought it was in your head. And it's like he blurted that out. I'm like, what? You got to be jacking me. You jacked me off for a year when I got a bad heart. And he came to the same diagnosis that Kevin had said. That sounds like. And I'm like, oh, man.
Earlier.
Yeah, a year earlier when I said, hey, I had this episode. And he's like, oh, that sounds like this. Your doctor should assume it's that and not assume, hey, we ran a 4-second ECG. There's nothing. So it's in your head, which is what they fucking did. So needless to say, I was less than amused. But once we had the Apple Watch and then we went in for a real diagnostic, then I had the 30-day monitor, and I went in after 10 days and had already had 4 episodes, and talked to the doctor. And so they hooked me up to the ECG there. And thank God, during that 2 seconds that they hook you up and run the tape, I was cranking. I had atrial fibrillation as well as the SVT, the supraventricular tachycardia, and they're both showing up. And he's like, holy shit, I'm going to call the cardiologist in Anchorage. And he did. He got him on the phone right there. And the guy actually answered, not his nurse. And so they talked real quick. And he's like, yeah, we got you hooked up. He's like, we're going to have to do more diagnostics to confirm. But yes, we'll get you set up, get the operation if this works for you. I don't recommend beta blockers right out of right out of the gate. So all of that now, almost 2 years after my first episode, I am to a point where, hey, it's okay. I walked a mile yesterday and didn't feel like I was going to die, and that's a significant departure from slowly strolling through walking my dog to being able to walk and pick up the pace a little bit. Yeah, I still had to slow down because it started because of the what they did during the heart surgery. It doesn't speed up like normal, so it just kind of thumps heavier and not necessarily faster. It's kind of weird. I mean, it only gets up, the most I can get up to is like 100 or 110. And when it's at 110, it doesn't feel good at all. So then I slow down, get it back down to 100, and it slows back down nice and quickly like it's supposed to. And then I can keep walking without feeling like I'm going to die. So I credit Kevin and Liz for that, all of that story as the foreground to the background. And thank God, because Liz used to work at the Apple store. She is for a little bit more, but used to, because she's also going to make that entry into becoming a full-time writer. Health.
Mm-hmm. Starting in less than 2 weeks now. Yeah, you're welcome, Heather. But actually, most of the credit goes to my wife, who is the one who had the watch overnighted to Craig in Alaska, so that he would have it right away. So like she was the one who really just like took over and made this all possible for him. And Judith said that the wearable EKG devices are really brilliant. They really are, and these things have saved so many lives. People who are suddenly having heart attacks, or in some cases strokes, or they've dropped into AFib and they didn't know it. All of a sudden, these little devices are alerting you and saying, "Hey, your heart's having a problem. You should maybe go get that checked out." And we're having tons of reports of people who are going to the doctor because their Apple Watch told them to, or whatever watch. It can be any watch with a approved EKG on it. And it's saving their life. So these are great tools for overall health. I actually have my Apple Watch set up with a bunch of different health tools. I have the Breathe app on here, so I can sit down if I'm stressing out over something, which I think most of us are, at least a little bit these days. I can punch out the Breathe app and it'll run me through a little breathing exercise to help lower my heart rate and help me feel a little bit more relaxed. I've got my Ring app here, which tells me how much I've been walking, how much I've been exercising, and how much I've been standing today. And I've got my exercise app on here too, because I like to try and get in some daily exercise. Even though we're sort of trapped indoors a lot of the time these days, it's still important to get some kind of workout in. Speaking about workouts a little bit, Craig, you said you just walked a mile. All right, and for a lot of people, well, it's just a mile. It's not that big, but any improvement in fitness is a good thing. So if your current shape is that you can't walk, like a quarter mile, then getting up to the point where you can walk a quarter mile is a huge improvement.
Yep.
It's all about starting from wherever you are and then moving on to where you can be, and it's all about slow incremental steady progress. Nobody's expecting everybody to go out and run a half marathon tomorrow. That would be dumb. In fact, that would be harmful for a lot of folks who are listening to this. You don't want to hurt yourself. You want to come up with a plan that will allow you to meet your current level of fitness and then slowly improve it.
That's unlike when we were in the military, where you could after an all-night bender, you could show up having gotten no sleep and still drunk and PT and be perfectly fine, and then go about your day's business and hopefully cut early so you can get some sleep. But that's a different world because you already had a certain level of fitness.
I saw some guys do that and not really come out of it all that well, but
yeah. Half a mile into the formation run, they're off to the side of the road puking. No sympathy. I generally was not that guy. I had to get my sleep, but damn, there were those guys, and I respect that they could do that. And those are the guys you want to go to war with, because they're the ones who aren't going to cave under little pressure, like somebody shooting at them, because they were able to PT while still drunk and having gotten no sleep. So this is, these are tests. Everything you do in life is a test.
I did it one time. It was up until 4 in the morning. I was up at 6 the next morning for formation and stuff. And then we had a field problem that day. And so I'm on a road march with an enormous backpack full of stuff. And uh, by lunchtime, I was still feeling completely miserable. And the cure was actually an MRE. I don't know why.
It's what it takes. Any kind of calories or food in your stomach, it's important. And that's one thing the Marines understood. And later in my career, and I retired in 2002, so this is dated information, but later in my career, even while running, if you had a protein bar or something in your pocket, power drinks fortunately had not come on the scene yet. So like iced coffee, especially I was stationed in Japan in the 80s, and they had iced coffee with sugar and lots of extra caffeine in the 80s. So you could always get one. It was 50 yen at the little roadside vending machine. You go get one. Hey, and it was 250 yen to the dollar. So for 20 cents, I could get this iced coffee drink that was way cool. And then it finally shows up in the U.S. and then it becomes Red Bull and bullshit like that. That if you have any respect for your health, when I was working up on the slope, I drank a lot of Rock Stars, just one a day, but I could feel what it was doing to my heart. I could feel my heart racing. I could feel, and I had no diagnostic tools with me. I didn't have the little. I've got one of the pulse oximeters, one of these things. I didn't have an Apple Watch. There were no such things that you personally had, and I expect that probably expedited the AFib and other things that I've had later. Even though I've always had hypertension, it's been controlled with medication. So this is, those things. And I mean, they shipped just pallets of Red Bull over to Iraq during the war and after in Afghanistan. And those guys live on that stuff. And I mean, you're running the engine at 110% all the time. It's not healthy.
Oh, you got multiple problems with something like that. So, like Red Bull or other sorts of energy drinks, they're doing two things for the most part. They're tossing caffeine into your system, which is just revving up your heart, revving up your metabolism. They're also tossing sugar in. So, the energy you're getting is actually more of a spike, and then there's going to be a fast drop off, which means you have to go and take another energy drink. So now you're maintaining a sugar spike. This is the equivalent of thinking it's a good idea to go down and buy one of those enormous bag of gummy bears, and every time you start feeling tired, grab a handful of gummy bears and eat them. And a caffeine pill, I guess, and a cup of coffee. Like short term, something like that can be a decent pick me up. I mean, when I was in college, we used Stay Awake juice, which was like 4 times the amount of instant coffee and 4 times the amount of hot chocolate you were supposed to put into a cup, all mixed together in one cup. In the short term, it can keep you up, but in the long term, you're having significant negative effects on your health. We want to keep that carbohydrate level low, because if we're spiking and valleying, then we're trending toward diabetes. We're slowly building up the insulin resistance in our cells, and we're slowly wearing out our pancreas's ability to keep up with sugar, and keep up with producing enough insulin to handle those spikes. And so we're veering toward diabetes when we spike our sugar all the time. And then caffeine. Caffeine's a poison. It's created by plants to poison bugs so that the bugs won't eat them. We happen to enjoy ingesting this poison, and it's not all that harmful in small doses for most people. For people with cardiac conditions, I would stay clear, obviously. But for most people, a little bit of caffeine, like a couple sodas, a cup of coffee in the morning, stuff like that, is not too awful. But when you're slamming multiple cups of coffee all day long, or you're slamming Red Bulls all day long, it's going to, in the long term, have some negative effects for you.
Let me balance Kevin's extremely negative speak about coffee. So we're gonna balance that. I have drunk my fair share of coffee. I'd usually drink at least one whole pot a day, and it would be the high test, but I always made it weak. I liked it weaker. So that's 8 cups of coffee of what is normally considered a normal dose of caffeine. Is an 8-ounce cup. If you're drinking a whole pot, well, that's 10. Well, if it's half, well, then maybe that's 6. It's still more than you should, especially as you get older and you get a little weaker and your body can't process it like mine really can't now. So I have 3 cups now of half strength. So I'm having the equivalent of 1.5 cups of coffee a day spaced out over 6 hours. And then all the rest of the time I'm drinking a decaf, or now it's just water. I'm interspersing it with water. I've already had 24 ounces of water this morning. It's 6:30 my time, but keep in mind I've been up for 4 hours. So I think that's a good pace, and just regulating my water intake, because also I don't have to run to the bathroom as often, and mixing it with the decaf. It keeps me where I'm comfortable with my past lifestyle, and I'm not making radical changes. It's like non-smokers going cold turkey. I can't imagine that. Yes, I know I do get the headaches because I am addicted to caffeine. I don't get them with a single cup's worth of caffeine in a day. That takes care of it, and that's just fine. I've cut my creamer way back, so I'm down to like a little bit of creamer. I mostly drink it straight up, and these are the things I'm doing to take care of me. I have no sugar snacks. I have no fried foods. The big thing to avoid processed foods, which is now, as we're like when Kevin was talking about that pasta, we have some sweet potato pasta as well. There's all different kinds of made just from that, and you look and it's like, this is made just from sweet potatoes. This is made just from edamame. The and you can use
that's
that.
what you're looking for. Is you look at the ingredients.
Yep.
If you can see just the edamame or just the sweet potato or just the whatever it is, lentils, green lentils,
Yep.
red lentils. I've got one that's red lentils, peppers, and tomatoes. It's great, and that's all it is just those things.
Yeah.
So you're getting fresh. You're not. That's not the same as fresh vegetables, but it is still vegetables.
Yeah, and so when
I
you're
see
ordering
a lot
online,
of comments about the coffee on here.
yeah. Oh, okay. Jolt.
Sorry,
Oh
I'm
my
seeing a lot of
God.
comments here about the coffee. I love my coffee. Moderation is key. Well, the answer is, Dean said moderation is key, and that really is the answer, because we know that coffee has some positive effects in terms of the body helping the body fight cancer. There's good evidence of that. Tea has some positive effects for heart health, so we know that. So these things are not entirely bad for us. There are good parts to them too. It's about moderation. It's like you don't have to
Yeah.
stop eating your gummy bears ever. Just moderation.
But keeping your body is an engine, as I've heard it explained through my whole life, and what you put into that engine is what you can get out of that engine. And if you're and the thing with processed foods, one of the things that we generally cut down on is, if you look at a package's ingredients and there's more than like 6 or 8 ingredients, it's processed food that's probably not good for you. So look at that, and if you can't pronounce the ingredient, it's a chemical, and your body is now not naturally inclined to processing that chemical. Yellow dye number 5 got a bad rep because of hot dogs back in the 70s. Yellow dye number 5 causes cancer. I lived in Dubuque, Iowa at the time, and we had the Dubuque packing plant, and the Dubuque packing plant made hot dogs and sent them all over the world. And all of a sudden, their tankers of yellow dye number 5 had to get turned around because, hey, we can't use that on our weenies anymore. And heaven forbid, where are we going to get our wieners? So these kinds of things. What's yellow dye number 5 made of? And remember the red slime? Well, that was a slime job, because there really is no such thing. It's something completely different. The red slime in hamburger, no. But understand what is going into your food. We shop at the co-op here in Fairbanks, Alaska. The co-op is a cooperative. They prefer organic. They have specialty foods, even though it's a real grocery store. It's fairly robust in size, but all of their meats are either locally sourced or organically from places, and they have exactly, this is grass fed. Here's what this animal fed on. And they have elk, they have buffalo, bison, they have all of the different things that you can pick up, and it's really, if you look at the ingredients on any package in that store, there's probably no more than 5, and even if you go in the chips aisle, it's a limited number. Now, the first one is potatoes, the next 4 aren't good for you, but it's a minimum number of ingredients. Just a cheap and easy way to see, here's what I'm putting in my body.
Yeah, and we've got plenty of time to make food right now. We've got, most of us,
Well, there's
essential
some
workers and
people.
stuff aside, we've like a lot of us have a little bit of spare time right now, and spending some of that on finding ways to eat healthier is actually a good use of this time. Spending some of it on exercise is another good use. Liz and I are doing Ring Fit Adventure on our Switch. We hook the Switch up to the television set, and there's this Ring Fit thing that you do a bunch of exercises to go through the thing, and it tracks your progress through this basically role-playing adventure. But you win and you beat monsters and stuff by doing exercises. It's kind of fun. I have a treadmill sitting next to my desk. It's just a walking treadmill, but I can raise my desk up, stick the treadmill down, and I can sit here and dictate or even type at my computer, and just walk at a nice 3-mile-an-hour pace, 2.5-mile-an-hour pace, and just walk while I'm doing it. I'm getting in some steps and some physical activity while I'm doing my work. There's lots of little things that we can do. That treadmill, it was about $200. Which is expensive for some people and incredibly cheap for others. I don't know where anybody listening's personal situation is, but that's one option if you can afford it, is to, just plunk a treadmill down in your house and walk. Liz and I do walks outside, and so we'll go out and we'll take like 2 to 5 mile walks at least every other day. Even right now, we're trying to get outside whenever it's not storming out, to go and just get out there, to get some sunshine, get some fresh air, but also to get that exercise in. It's a little bit of everything, and it comes back around to that holistic thing. Like, we know that certain vitamins are also helping our bodies resist COVID-19 better, and vitamin D is one of them. And what's the best way to get vitamin D? Well, sunlight. But
Sunlight.
most of the UVs that help our bodies create vitamin D do not come through our windows very well. So we're getting some of it, but through a window, but not as much as we should be. The windows are blocking a lot of the UV. So you actually have to go outside
Yeah.
in order to get the full advantage of it.
And that's some of the new research. That's some of the peer-reviewed articles that said, here's what we're seeing: people with a higher have a quicker, have a better resistance to it, and getting outside is important. The UV, most windows are treated to prevent UV because it discolors everything. The sun's rays will discolor anything it touches. So most of the windows are treated with UV so you don't get that UV through the window. You can get special lamps up here in Alaska because of the 24 hours of darkness. We have what's called happy lamps that are specifically to generate those UV rays to make believe like you've been in the sun for 20 or 30 minutes a day at the height of darkness. And then for the months on the elbows of that, the sun's on the southern horizon. It is going through so much atmosphere because of going through at an angle that you're not really getting good UV then. Even if you do want to stay outside for 30 minutes when it's minus 30 degrees outside, you're still not getting the UV. So you're not benefiting yourself. And that super cold air isn't good on your lungs because it makes your heart work extra hard. So all things you learn when you live up here. But if you can get outside, even if it's your own, if you have a postage stamp backyard, it's okay. You still, or your stoop out front, just try to get some sun and some outside air because almost all places in the world now have cleaned up their outside air that is better than being trapped inside if you don't cycle the air in your house. If you have air trapped in your house and you're there for a month, that air is worse than what you're going to have outside. You need to ventilate your house as well. And once again, up here, because of how well the houses are sealed, I have a full house ventilation system. And that's separate from any other air handling system. It's a big old filter, and it just changes the air inside of the house. I got to run it 4 times to completely change the air inside the house, and 4 times is 4 hours. One time will run for an hour. So it's the things you have to do, because it's unhealthy to stay in your house and never leave and not ventilate it. I mean, you've got to be able to open your windows. You've got to be able to get that air flowing through there, because outside air now is still better than what you're going to have in your house if you're trapped in there, in my opinion.
No, that's very good advice. I mean, I live in a high-rise apartment, and I've got a ventilation fan duct right above my head here. But the apartment is constantly shifting out air from running air out through a filter, running it back in. I mean, it's a 40-story building. They're constantly trying to cycle the air through all the apartments and stuff inside the building. But if you have a house, just open up 2 windows on opposite ends of the house, assuming it's nice enough outside to do it.
Yeah.
Open up 2 windows on opposite ends of the house and just let the air run through. Is there anything you can do to help your hands and wrists from developing aches and pains? Are we talking aches and pains from typing?
Well, aches and pains is probably because you get carpal tunnel for that motion too much. But
so
take your best guess.
I have problems with both my elbows. I have problems with the tendons a lot, right here on both my elbows, my left especially, my right to some degree as well. In order to help combat that, basically what was happening was I was using a regular old keyboard and I was typing away, and I hit the point where I was just doing my 3, 4, 5,000 words a day, and I was ending the day hurting. I actually went to see the doctor about it. I tried elbow braces. I tried all kinds of things. So there's a few things that I've done that have been effective. One of them is actually this keyboard here, and I'll try and hold it up so you can see it. It's a Kinesis keyboard. It's separated. It's Bluetooth, but it's a separate keyboard, but it also arcs. So not only is it creating an angle on my hands like this, but it's also allowing me to angle my hands like this when I'm typing. So that takes a lot of the tension off of that particular set of tendons. Just tenting the keyboard so that it rises up a little bit in the middle takes that tension off and helps me be able to type for longer with less stress on it.
So your career as the Boston Strangler can go that much longer because your elbows, you maintain that strength.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Kinesis is Kinesis. This one here is the Freestyle 2 Blue. I got the idea from Dakota out in Edinburgh, where he had this keyboard. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to try that. He let me play with it for a little bit, and I liked it, so I bought one for myself. In terms of other stuff, icing will help a great deal. If you're ending a work session, a typing session, and your wrists or your elbows are hurting, getting some kind of an ice pack you can throw in the freezer and then just put on the affected joint will help. If it gets really bad, ultimately your best bet moving forward is probably to switch over to dictation. I use Dragon, and I have a little microphone for my phone, which I can carry with me, and I have a big desktop microphone. There we go. Here, a blue.
And those have gone on sale on Amazon Prime days I think last year you could get a blue microphone for like $49. It was insane.
So yeah, like these microphones that I use are actually moderately high end tools, because I'm really actively working on dictation and trying to learn how to do it better. I'm not very good at it yet. But it is a practice. It is something you need to get better at by simply doing it. And every single person that I know who's dictating away and doing their 4,000 words an hour dictation and wrapping up their 8,000 word day after 2 hours of talking at their computer, this is the dream, right? But every single person I've talked to who's doing dictation at a successful level is doing it after a lot of practice. So if you want to get started with that sort of thing, and I would honestly recommend it for a lot of authors, because this is hard on our bodies. And if I can dictate into a little recorder while walking outside during the summer, if I can dictate at my computer while I'm standing on my treadmill, if I can do these things, then I can turn my sedentary writing time into fitness writing time. And you're just overall improving everything about the activity at that point. For Mac users like me, the new dictation built into OS X is exactly like Dragon, and it's free, FYI. It is similar. The dictation is built into the Catalina for the Macs, and for Siri on the iPhones is based on the original. Basically Apple licensed the original kernel from Nuance. So the original code is based on an old version of Nuance's Dragon software. However, the two have diverged greatly at this point, so they're very different packages. Nuance is a much better learning machine. The Nuance's Dragon software is a much better learning machine, which means you can reach the point where you can get extremely high levels of accuracy. Yes, it can. If you stutter or hesitate, does it come up in dictation? It can. So I can get up to 99.5% accuracy with Dragon. However, that's one error every every 200 words, and that's acceptable for me. If I'm probably making that many typos when I'm typing anyway, or close to it, so that's an acceptable level of errors for me. It's not adding too much to my stuff.
So I put a question on the screen
as well.
Other than good cardio, would you suggest any writer-specific stretches? Yeah.
I'm not. I've done a very little bit of yoga, so I wouldn't really know exactly how to how to recommend that. But in terms of stretches, anytime that you're sitting down for a long period of time, it's a good idea to do whole body stretches, especially back and lower body. So we're sitting still. I'm sitting on my chair right now. This is a nice. I've got a nice office chair, but I'm sitting on this chair right now. My lower legs are not going through an awful lot of motion. So I'm sitting here for an hour. At the end of that time, I probably want to stretch out my lower legs, stretch out the muscles, get them moving a little bit, get the blood flowing again. Likewise, we're putting a lot of stress on our wrists. My wrists don't actually usually hurt from writing, but some people's do. And we're putting a lot of stress on our elbow joints as well from the typing. The rigid posture of attempting to move our fingers and stuff is putting stress on the tendons up here, up here and in here. Stretching both of those areas, especially the ones that hurt more for you and your style of typing, is incredibly important. Also, taking a break if your muscles are hurting or your tendons are hurting, take a break. Wearing a supportive brace can help a lot too. A supportive elbow brace can help take some of the pressure off of it. But above, working out also can help. So literally doing push-ups or lifting low level weights with this muscle here can help
12,
strengthen
12
the muscles
ounce
all
cans,
around those joints that are
12-ounce cans of
sure.
beer.
I would recommend maybe a
16
3 or
ounce, a
5 pound
40
crate.
ounce, 40 ounce, man, a
There you
growler,
go.
curling a growler.
But working those muscles like this will actually encourage blood flow. It'll strengthen all the muscles around the joints, and overall, it'll help you. It'll help you be able to better support it. When I injured my knee, the ligaments in my knee back in the Army, I was months in the swimming pool getting that knee back into shape. And the way I did it was I slowly strengthened all of the muscles around the injury to the point where the muscles were holding a lot of the additional weight instead of the ligaments, and that took the pressure off the ligaments enough for it to finally start healing.
Good deal. Good deal.
Okay, we're getting a lot of comments here. Cool. If your tendons are hurting, the strength training around the area will help to support them. Yep, that's exactly what I was saying. My back has suffered since writing full time. Should I make sure to sit up straight to help strengthen my core? Yes, absolutely. So core training should, most of the time when we do core training, we're only looking at doing our bellies, but it's important to actually do core training that strengthens the lower back as well. You want to have both sets of muscles improving in tandem. If you're having a lot of pain from it, I would recommend going and doing a brief stint of physical therapy. I was in a car crash a couple of years ago, injured my back, and I ended up having to do like a month or two of physical therapy in order to help get my back in shape. It was a lot of different exercises. I wish I could like show you them all right now here. This is probably not the best time, but a physical therapist is a great resource for helping out with this sort of thing. These are also extremely helpful. I have a back rolly that sits next to my desk. And if my back is hurting, I will just like lay down on the carpet back there and roll out my back. That can be very, very helpful. And that was actually something that my physical therapist recommended. There's one other thing too about working core and sitting up straight. You can do a couple of additional things that can help. There's a device now which you hang or attach to your back, which tells you if you're starting to slouch. So for those of us who type like this, hunched over, that little thing can help you. It'll like buzz when you start slouching, and it reminds you to keep your back straight. There are also chairs. I have a kneeling chair that I'm playing with. I do a lot of this stuff, guys. I have a kneeling chair that I'm playing with over here, which I'm finding is actually, because I'm having to sit up straight. I am strengthening my core across the back and front pretty well with that chair. So I'm practicing using that when I'm typing more and more these days.
Okay, we'll wrap the session today. Lots of stuff to think about, lots of research that you can do, but the most important element is do something to take care of the whole body that supports the brain. You don't want to put sugar in your gas tank of your car. So I'm not saying don't put sugar in your body, but know what you're putting in your body that will prevent you from keeping that brain sharp, because it's our words, and the only way you get better words is you have a better brain that has taken all of the data you've learned from your previous words and put them to help you sharpen those new words and made them better to better resonate with your readers, as well as sharpen how to approach ads. All of that is you're learning, and most of us are older. We have very, very few who are teenagers in their prime learning years. Most people are old. And do you think that, hey, I've learned what I need to learn in life? Well, you're, as a self-published author, you have a great deal of stuff you need to keep learning. And that's why you got to keep that body
Absolutely.
good. You got to keep that mind sharp and stay focused on what you're doing. And to do that, you can't sit at your keyboard and stay focused if you don't do other stuff. So it may seem hey, nose to the grindstone, stiff upper lip, especially if you're trying to get something done, you might benefit from, instead of working 60 minutes an hour, work 45 and do something very constructive for your body in that other 15.
Absolutely. And remember too that incremental changes are the way to go here. You don't have to like leave this broadcast and say, I'm going to go and reinvent my entire life and change everything today. Incremental changes are great. I a number of years ago, I stopped drinking all sugared soda, and I stopped eating fast food, and I dropped 10 pounds in a couple of months. Like sometimes even a small change can make a very large overall difference. And so start making small incremental changes, and those small changes will add up over time.
Yep. The salty snack food industry, it's okay if they don't necessarily bolster things during the coronavirus. I saw that the hot wing industry is suffering because there's now a glut of wings in which to make hot and enjoy mightily. So because places like Buffalo Wild Wings aren't buying them by the gross ton like they used to, but they're still they're freezing them. It's we're not going to run out of hot wings. So as soon as this opens back up, and the first place you go is Buffalo Wild Wings, they're going to have wings. You're going to be okay. It's okay. But those kinds of things in moderation. And yes, I look forward to some good hot wings, sushi, and all of that good stuff. Even though, yes, we can get it in town. All beside the point. Take care of yourself. Make sure you put good stuff in your body. Make sure you do great things with that body so you can do great things with your mind. Today we've had Kevin McLaughlin. Tomorrow we have Jenna Marici talking about YouTube, and it's not at the regular time. It's going to be at noon. I think noon my time. I think 1 p.m. her time, because she's also a primary caregiver and she's busy. That's the only time we could get her on. But it's important that we do get her on and talk about YouTube and how you can use that for your business. Any final words, Kevin?
Not really. Best of luck, everybody. I know this is really stressful for everybody. Remember that mental health is a piece of holistic health. So, like do stuff to take care of yourself, have some self-compassion, and, like do something every day to help make yourself feel a little bit better. This is a really stressful time for a lot of people. So take care of yourself.
Oh, and there's one point that we missed, though, when people are home and cooking. Too many people now have their bambinos at home full time, and now are cooking 3 full meals a day and have all the associated dishes. So we're next week we'll try to come up with an episode for cardio dishes, how to do dishes and stay fit. Okay, I'm lying. We're not going to do that. But anyway, if you come up with that, you'll be a genius. You'll make $1 billion. So there, and how to get your kids involved, and you can do treadmill while they're doing the dishes. That would be the golden egg for everybody. You'll have a great day.
Dishes. There you go.
That and we will catch you tomorrow. Thanks, Kevin.
No problem.
Still going. Oh no. It hasn't logged out yet. So we're still live. So anyway, keep that in mind. So if you stand up and you're not wearing pants, don't do that, because this session may not end. Because it should end within like 2 seconds, and it's still turning. So I'm sure we're still live on Facebook. Okay. Can anybody confirm that we're not gone? We want to be gone. Something went wrong.
Say hi.
Fuck.
Oh, there we go. Yep. So yeah. Craig and I are now on the 24/7 Craig and Kevin show.
and the worst part is we may lose the whole thing. We may not be able to cut it over to YouTube, but it gave me the thing back and said we're still streaming. So let me try to stop streaming again. Hey guys, this is what we do after we end. We talk about our butts.